Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Whether you're coming back or if you're a first time viewer, please don't forget to click the like and subscribe button for the channel. It does help it grow and it helps me stay motivated to continue to post when I know that people are watching and participating. It's been a couple days since I recorded, and I'm excited to get back to it. One of the topics I want to talk about today was as a business owner or as a decision maker in a business, is it okay to drop a client or move on from a client and lose that revenue and things that go with it? I That's a topic that's important to me. I think it's important for every business owner to be faced with. And for me, recently, I did have to move on from two clients actually. And I will tell you, in 20 years of owning a company, I think I've had to do that maybe under 10 times. So it's not something I take lightly. But when I do know it's something I need to do, I do it. And so I know early on it was a real tough decision. You know, you're early in the business, you're young in the business growing, and every dollar matters. I remember sweating every possible dollar I could because cash is important and cash flow is critical. And early on in the business, we were running red, right? I had some clients who were starting to build some revenue, but in the end, my costs were exceeding my revenue, and so I had to be very, very cost conscious. And when you have a situation where a client may not be the best fit for your organization, I think it hits a little harder when you're new to business or the business is young because every dollar matters. And I remember thinking, revenue is revenue, right? It all spends the same. Money is money. That is most certainly not the case. I mean, true on its face, but definitely not accurate as it relates to why you make a decision like this. So for me, there came points where a particular client just may not be the right fit for us, or we may not be the right fit for them. And I don't mean it in a "hey, get out of here, we don't want you anymore," or burning bridges or adversarial. It just isn't like that for me in business. Even if I've had to let an employee go where there was contention or a client that really was a bad fit, I never do it out of anger. I never do it in ways that are kind of standoffish. I move on methodically. I state my case and present what I'm looking to do, and I let it happen. So when it comes to moving on from a client, for me personally, over the last 20 years, and again, I want to be clear, this is 20 years of growing a business from myself as the only employee to close to 50 employees across multiple states doing millions of dollars of business. So I've been doing this for a while and have some pretty decent experience to draw from. In more cases than not, when I've had to move on from a client, it really is a matter of just it not being a good cultural fit or there not being good trust there. I think of one client in particular. It was a busing company we were working with early, and we were about a month into working with the client, and there were some exchanges between them and our employees via phone, via email, and in person, where it was pretty tough. F bombs flying at them, talking down to them in a pretty demeaning way. And I don't mean dealing with like challenging interactions. I'm a pretty thick skinned guy, and our employees certainly know that in a service oriented environment, you're going to deal with some contention. You're going to deal with somebody having a tough day. You're going to be the person they're frustrated to talk to, and you're their outlet. And so they might come, at you a little bit harder than they would if they met you socially, and that is okay in the context of what a service industry culture can be like. But I'm talking some pretty demeaning stuff and ways that just weren't appropriate for me. And so we made a decision to move on from that particular client. And I know for me, besides principally being right, like I just don't want to see people be treated like that. I don't want to be treated like that. I don't treat our partners like that or our employees like that. And I think the thing that really was hardest for me was our employees knew that this was a thing, right? They're copied on emails, they're aware, they're talking to each other. Did you hear what so and so said to such and such? So the word was out there, and they were aware that it was an unpleasant experience dealing with this client. I get more concerned about what I would have done had I not made that decision. Because what message does that send to our employees? Hey, we're aware of this situation, we see how we're being treated, but my employer seems to value the revenue, the cash, the client retention, even in the face of a real contentious and in some cases just not an appropriate way to treat people, reasoning, right? That's where my head's at, and that sends a really tough message to your employees, right? If I have to move on from one particular client, I can do that. I can weather that. Trust me. And it may not feel like you can if you're early on in business and every dollar matters. Even late in business, every dollar matters. But if you're really sweating finances, believe me, it's a test of your ethics and your morals and your values with your employees. But I say to myself, if I keep that one client that may be doing a little bit of revenue here and there, but if I lose 2 or 3 valuable employees because they've lost their faith in me and my ability to lead them successfully and with respect, the money's just not worth it. And I want to be clear. I don't want to get into too many details because the client and the size doesn't matter too much based off the philosophical approach that I have. But I can tell you that I have walked away from clients that do a few $100s a month, and I have walked away from clients that do close to $100,000 a year. So we're not talking decisions that I take lightly. When you're talking about a client that is responsible for more than 1 or 2 jobs worth of revenue, you really have to sit back and evaluate that. But again, I say to myself, what does it mean for us long term? Are they fighting with billing and finance? Are they treating employees improperly? Is it adding stress to my life and my ability to lead, my ability to feel positive about where we're going as a company? So I think for me, when I recognize that it's just not where it needs to be, I realize it's okay to move on. I think it's important to understand a few things when you do. Do it respectfully. I always say, if I have to make a tough decision, I gain 0 from doing it in a way that is contentious, even if I feel strong about it. If I feel that a client was completely inappropriate to an employee, I'll let them know that respectfully. I'll let them know that as we move on. But I definitely won't say, like, you know what, that was not right, and you shouldn't blah, 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 and you should be ashamed of yourself. All I'm doing is building more contention as we walk out the door. I make sure I say my piece in a way that I feel comfortable and clear conscious about, and then I move on. Because ultimately, that person is going to talk in the business community in some way, shape, or form. They are going to be asked questions. It may come up as a topic. And it's one thing for them maybe not to like the fact that we separated ways, but it certainly is different when I put them on edge and have emotion high. Now, they may be talking a little bit in ways that are negative and want to make it more than what it is. If I let a client know that mutually I just don't think we're a good fit for each other, and that I respect what they do as a business and I appreciate the time that they had us as their provider, then I think I could walk away feeling good. I don't always have to say my piece. I don't always have to make sure that I got to say what I felt was important. It just isn't there for me. What is important is that I can look employees in the eye and tell them wholeheartedly why I made that decision, what they mean to me, what that decision means for us as a business, and that they can know that I have their back and that we believe in working at a company where, that stuff matters. We have close to about a 14-year tenure at the company at this point, which is unheard of at this day and age, and I love that. I'm so proud of that. We have a lot of employees that have stayed and dedicated a big part of their lives to me and our company and to each other. And a way to foster that and grow that is to show them that you care about them and how they're treated, right? It could be economic reasons. It could be clients that are just, challenging in terms of paying, that are constantly kind of, at odds with you in those regards and not valuing the work that you do. But regardless, when you have to make that decision, it's okay. It is okay to do it. I can tell you after 20 years, I have survived every time we've done from a client, and it's always been the right thing. If I think back and scour my brain real quick, I can't think of anything to come to mind, and I mean at all, where I say, maybe I acted too hasty, maybe I was too thin-skinned. I give it good thought. I bounce it off supervisors. I talk to people I trust, and once you know, as they say. And in your heart, when you know it's the right decision, then I feel you're comfortable to make it. With that said, one of the tougher things to do as a business owner, I think, because it translates to actual finance and revenue lost. But I can tell you that the culture that you foster and your employee retention and a whole and happy environment that has not the stresses of being in business, because that's implicit, but the unnecessary stresses that can be added on due to a bad client relationship, it's well worth the long haul to do things right. So if you're faced with that decision, understand you're not alone. I'm sure there'd be tons of business owners that will line up and let you know that they've probably done it as well, and for the good reasons why, and also in ways that are positive. So, with that said, hope to see you on the next episode, and appreciate you all coming around, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.